When my servants ask about me, I am near. I respond to the one who calls whenever they call upon me. When my servants ask about me, I am near. I respond to the one who calls whenever they call upon me.
All that we are arises with our thoughts. With a pure heart, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves.
Be like a reed emptied of self, that the song of the beloved may flow through you.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings dwell in peace.
The Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words.
Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment.
All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of thing shall be well.
I am a flute through which the breath of God moves. Listen to this music.
Deep calls to deep, from silence and from song, from longing and from presence. One prayer rises. One breath, one heart, one spirit of love in which we are all held.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's spiritual life gathering, Deep Calls to Deep, where we explore practices of the heart across spiritual and religious traditions. I'm Stephen Hurley on behalf of the entire Spiritual Life team. A very warm welcome to all of you. Whether you're joining us for the very first time or whether Wednesday afternoons are part of your regular practice, you are very welcome here. And a special welcome to those of you who hopefully are joining online and through Zoom and YouTube. In an effort to create a space that is safe and welcoming, we'd like to assure you that if for any reason you need to leave the space, you may do that. No questions, no judgments. In the same way, if you'd like to rejoin us at some point, you are most welcome to do that as well. I know that there are people here for the first time that may be observing as part of an interfaith, I'm going to say requirement, but opportunity, invitation. And so I'd like to introduce you to our Spiritual Life team because we always love feedback. And if you had any questions or comments to leave with them, they would be happy to address those. So if I could get the Spiritual Life team to stand and just give a wave. So take a good look. There you go. That's this year's Spiritual Life team. Thank you. This afternoon, our interfaith focus is, as I said, Deep Calls to Deep. And the opening tapestry of voices that you just heard presented wisdom from the Muslim, from the Buddhist, and from the Christian traditions. As our time together continues, we have invited members of our community to share a particular spiritual or prayer practice from their particular tradition. The words may be different, the names may be different, but all are written in the key of the heart. Today, we're also pleased to have with us Imam Yassin Dwyer and Reverend Tim Kennedy, members of the chaplaincy team here at Victoria University and Emmanuel College, and we'll be engaging them in a conversation about how their work is actually work of the heart. And again, welcome to all of you.
As we gather here today, we acknowledge and respect this sacred land on which Emmanuel College and Victoria University operates. It has been a site of human activity for thousands of years. The land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat peoples, the Seneca and the Mississaugas of the Credit. The territory was a subject of the dish with one spoon wampum belt covenant, an agreement between the Hanusandak and Anishinaabe nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, Toronto is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are encouraged to continually strengthen our relationships among all living beings and with this land.
In the Islamic tradition, the heart is seen not only as the center of our emotions, but also as the seat of divine presence. The Quran reminds us that God is closer to us than our jugular vein. This verse speaks of intimacy, a closeness that is beyond distance, beyond language. I invite you to take a gentle breath. Inhale slowly and exhale softly. As you breathe in, imagine the breath is a light entering your heart. As you breathe out, release any heaviness and worry you might be carrying. In Sufi tradition, we call this practice dhikr, the remembrance of God. Sometimes we repeat a sacred name such as Allah or Hu, the sound of divine breath. After each of 5 daily prayers, Muslims are encouraged to spend a few moments in quiet remembrance known as tasbihat, a practice of repeating the beautiful names of God, called Asma'ul Husna. These names describe the divine qualities, beauty, mercy, peace, compassion, reflections of the One who created us all. Through this rhythm, hearts oft soften and peace returns. It is a simple yet profound way of keeping the heart awake to divine presence in everyday life. I would like to invite you to join me in this remembrance. You may simply listen or softly repeat Ya Allah after each line if you wish. Together, let us breathe, remember, and open our hearts. Ya Cemil Ya Allah, Ya Garib Ya Allah, Ya Mujib Ya Allah, Ya Habib Ya Allah, Ya Rauf Ya Allah, Ya Atuf Ya Allah, Ya Maruf Ya Allah, Ya Latif Ya Allah, يا عظيم يا الله يا حنان يا الله يا منان يا الله يا ديان يا الله يا سبحان يا الله يا أمان يا الله يا برهان يا الله يا سلطان يا الله يا مستعان يا الله يا محسن يا الله يا متعال يا الله يا رحمن يا الله يا رحيم يا الله يا كريم يا الله يا مجيد يا الله يا فرد يا الله يا وتر يا الله يا أحد يا الله يا صمد يا الله يا محمود يا الله يا صادق الوعد يا الله يا علي يا الله يا غني يا الله يا شافي يا الله يا كافي يا الله يا معافي يا الله يا باقي يا الله يا هادي يا الله يا قادر يا الله يا ساتر يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا غفار يا الله يا فتاح يا Allah. As we recite these names, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, may our hearts soften and our spirits remember that God is closer to us than our jugular vein.
And I'm going to invite Tim and Yassine up into the hot seat. I get the center seat. Well, thank you both for being with us today. We're just going to take a few minutes to engage these members of our chaplaincy team in a conversation about the work that they do in the context of. I wondered if you might just offer a few words of introduction. You can probably do a better job than I can.
Assalamu alaikum. May God's peace, mercy, and blessings be with each and every one of you. My name is Yassine Dwyer, and I'm the executive director of an organization called Muslim Chaplaincy of Toronto. We are a pastoral organization based here at Emmanuel College, serving students, staff, and all those in between here at the University of Toronto, TMU, and York University. We provide counseling services, mentorship services. We have some religious and spiritual classes, programmings, and we try our best to advocate for Muslim students and others here on campus. I've been on campus perhaps for 10 years, and before that time I was a chaplain with the Correctional Service of Canada for a number of years, and I'm very happy to be with all of you here today. Thank you.
I had no idea you were that busy. I just thought you showed up on Thursday nights. No. There you go. Tim.
So my name is Tim Kennedy. I'm a university chaplain with the Ecumenical Chaplaincy, which is a chaplaincy that has historically been funded by and supported by the United Church of Canada and the Presbyterian Church in Canada, as well as other Christian denominations. We have a relationship, a special relationship with Emmanuel College because of its historic relationship with the United Church of Canada and also with Knox College because of its relationship with the Presbyterian Church in Canada. We are a chaplaincy for all students here on campus. We're rooted in the Christian tradition, but we meet with students from all sorts of different faiths as well as ethical traditions. And we strive to be an inclusive ministry, an inclusive chaplaincy, working together to build bridges, to work to find areas of common collaboration and support for students and faculty and staff here on campus.
Tim, I'd like to ask you about the work that you do in terms of our theme, Deep Calls to Deep. To what extent do you believe your work is heart work?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
Yeah, you know, this when I was emailed these questions, I had to think deeply about that. And the first image that came to my mind is that for our ministry to be heart work, and this image of deep calling to deep, it means it goes beyond just the surface level. You know, there are all sorts of labels that we place on ourselves and other people. But when we think about going deep, we go beyond those surface level labels that we're often encouraged to place on ourselves and place on other people in the world that we live, and to look at the human that is at the core of every one of us, the part of all of us that we hold in common. In our Christian tradition, we might say that we are all children of God. If you were just to think of it just in purely humanistic terms, you might say that we are all citizens of this earth. And by virtue of that, that makes us all sisters and brothers. And so we're able to think more deeply about our relationships that go beyond, you know, political or national or even to some degree religious labels that we might use. And so this idea of deep calling to deep, there's a sense in which our relationship with the divine, however we would define that, is a calling into deeper waters with God, and then how we relate to one another. We go deeper in those relationships with other people because we realize that that we are more than just the sum total of the surface level labels that we tend to place on ourselves and on one another.
You mentioned the word core, and if Mr. Mullen, my Latin teacher, was correct, heart and core are related etymologically.
Yes.
Which is good. I had to get that word in there, Scott, etymologically. Yassine, heart work and chaplaincy, how did this connect for you?
Well, as was mentioned earlier, the heart is the seat of divine knowledge, divine connection, divine intimacy. It's the seat of gnosis. So anyone who is a part of this vocation called religion should be concerned with the heart. And there is a debate whether or not this heart that we speak about in religious circles is related to the physical heart. I have some theories about that. I'm not going to share them today. Maybe a bit much to unpack. Although I don't believe that the leading cause of death in this part of the world is heart disease. I think there's a message in there somewhere. But nonetheless, the human being is made up of three things. Number one, our soul, which is basically who we are, our inclinations, our uniqueness. And then we have our spirit. In the Islamic tradition, there is a distinction between the soul and the spirit. The spirit is the nature in which human beings are created. Human beings all are gifted a spirit from God. The nature of that spirit, the Quran teaches that we haven't been given complete information concerning the nature of the spirit, but there's no life without the spirit. But between the soul and the spirit, in Arabic, the soul is your nafs, and the spirit is your ruh. But between the soul and the spirit is something called qalb. And qalb means heart. So how do these three dimensions work with each other? They work with each other as a radio. You know, you have some radios that are big, some radios that have good bass, right? That have a very crisp sound. But every radio needs electricity, needs power to bring it to life. So the radio, the physical body of the radio is like our soul. The electricity that brings that radio to life is our spirit. But in between, to bring that radio to life, you need a cord. You need something to transfer that electricity to the body of the radio. That is the role of the heart. The heart is the filter. And that's why in the Islamic tradition, there's so much emphasis upon polishing the heart, purifying the heart, so that nothing acts as an impediment towards that divine energy impacting upon your worldly life. So the heart is at the center of everything. In fact, as was mentioned earlier by my sister, the remembrance of God is everything. Well, the Quran explicitly says that with the remembrance of God, hearts, they find rest. They find equilibrium. They find balance. So at the root of this work, this vocation, is the heart.
I wanted to ask you about your work as chaplain, in chaplaincy. How does all of this translate into the encounters that you have with students that come to you? Because that's really heavy stuff and very powerful, poetic almost. But how does it make sense to someone that comes to see you on a Monday morning that might be stressed or distracted or anxious?
Well, our idea is come as you are to Islam as it is. And this can be applied universally across the board. Just come as you are to your particular faith tradition as it is. Meaning that we are not all the same. We don't have, the same journey. We're all unique. We all have unique memories, unique experiences, unique burdens. So therefore, you come as you are, however, to the religious reality as it is. We have 4 types of Muslims. This is kind of a joke, but we have 4 types of Muslims. You have one type of Muslim that you find in the mosque 5 times a day. As Muslims, we observe formal prayers 5 times a day. So you find some Muslims that are in the mosque 5 times a day. You have some Muslims that come to the mosque only on Friday. Friday, we have a congregational prayer in the afternoon. You only see them in the mosque on Friday. Some Muslims, you only see them for Eid. Right? We have 2 Eids, one after Ramadan, one after the pilgrimage season. That's the only time you see them in the mosque. But the 4th type of Muslim, the only time you see them in the mosque is for their funeral prayer. However, what brings them all together is the word, the kalima, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, that there's no God but the one God, Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. So all of them have this connection, all of them. So I think the role of a chaplain or someone who's playing that pastoral role is to make sure you receive people as they are, but recognizing that every single human being possesses something that we call the fitra in our tradition, a primordial nature that connects them to the divine forever. And your role is to nurture and cultivate that.
Did you want to pick up on any of that or go off on a direction of your own? The work that you do, how do you bring all of this to the ground?
Yeah, no, I think that when we think of the heart, we think oftentimes of love, right? Love becomes the primary, maybe human emotion that we think of when we think of the heart. And of course, love is not only a human emotion; it's also an action that we take, loving action in the world. And so when I think of the work of chaplaincy, I think first and foremost about the connection or the coming together of 2 hearts, the bridging of that gap. And when you think of how is that gap bridged, it's bridged through love, through loving kindness, both through a positive, loving posture towards the other, as well as positive, loving action towards the other. And sometimes that comes at great personal expense. You have to sort of come with your full self, but you also have to carve out space for the other, for the presence of the other as well. And so this loving kindness, this coming together of two hearts, ultimately in the Christian tradition, we would say, because God is love, when there is love between two hearts, God is there. And this is a mystery. It's difficult to fully explain, but I think it's a part of our human experience that we can all relate to.
I'm thinking of Cardinal John Henry Newman. When he became a cardinal, he had to choose a motto, and his in Latin was cor ad cor loquitur, heart speaks to heart. So you've just helped me write my sermon for this Sunday. Thank you. I wondered, as a closing question, this is very, very interesting. We'll have to have you back. In terms of interfaith, and Emmanuel College committed to interfaith dialogues, interfaith conversations, interfaith gatherings. How does your role as chaplaincy speak to that whole vision of interfaith heart-to-heart conversation?
I mean, you know, sometimes when we think of interfaith conversation, the temptation is to say, well, there's really not, you know, a lot of difference between us, and to focus on the commonalities. And there can be a place for that, certainly, to find those areas that we hold in common. But I have found it more helpful to also recognize that there are differences between different faith traditions, and that that's okay. That we come together again to create space for one another, to find areas where we are in agreement, areas where we can where our faiths overlap, specifically in areas related to the heart, like compassion for others, mercy, acting in a loving way, loving kindness. And so we approach, I think, so I would understand approaching interfaith conversation in a multi-faith way, recognizing that there are many different faith traditions, ethical traditions, and non-faith traditions, humanistic traditions here on campus, and to allow space when encountering the other for that conversation, and to find those places of connection of the heart through things like compassion and mercy and loving action.
Thank you. Final word to you, Yassine.
You know, I appreciate that response, because between Islam and Christianity, you know, we have to acknowledge and admit that we both follow proselytizing traditions. And you know, sometimes when we get together in the name of multi-faith dialogue, we sometimes you know, struggle just to get away from that completely. And there's always a certain element of awkwardness, but I think it starts with not taking yourself too seriously. I think the problem with a lot of religious spaces and religious people in general, they really take themselves seriously. And this actually gets in the way of real open communication. There's a time and place to have very healthy discussion and back and forth reasoning sessions about theology, about law, about the role of religion in society, religion versus seculars. And there's a time and place to have those kind of discussions. But we should be very, very mindful that we do share a common origin. We come from one womb. We come from one womb. That's something that we have to keep in mind at all times. We're all related in some way. So we have to be humble, recognize our place, you know, coming from that one womb, and hey, let's keep in mind the golden rule, right? You treat people as you wish to be treated. Look, if we start there, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, Tim and Yassine, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, for your insights, your input, and the work that you do, not only here at Emmanuel, but throughout the university. And I mean, I had no idea your circle was so wide. Yeah. So thanks to you both. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just check.
Hi, my name's Scott Reed. I'm thinking of times I was invited to pray. And by invitation, I mean someone has invited me or 2 or 3 people to pray for a specific reason. The invitation is private and personal. Inviting someone to pray is an act of love and compassion. There is an intimacy to this kind of praying, a spontaneity to it. We feel something, it changes us, and something happens. There are times in our lives we're heartbroken, we're lost. Maybe a child is ill, maybe a child is struggling at school and we're looking for answers. Maybe our family life is troubled by growing economic hardships. Maybe we're at the bedside of a mother or father, their breath heavy and troubled. Other times we might be lost and not even know it. In these times, an invitation to pray from a caring friend, a pastor, a faith leader, awakens in us a feeling of connection with God and the divine, that which is greater than our understanding. Maybe familiar words from Scripture are spoken. Maybe the words are specific in tone, asking God and Jesus for help and guidance. The prayer is deeply felt. The prayer is intimate, full of love and compassion, and it brings comfort. We feel something, it changes us, and something happens. I spent many years working and traveling in Central and South America, and I'd like to give an example of Christian testimony, a story about how prayer changed me. I invite you to visualize, if you wish, close your eyes, it's up to you. But I was in Cali, Colombia in March of 1995. Cali is one of the most beautiful cities in the world and one of the most beautiful countries in the world. But it's 1995. The city was on edge. The military was there in full force, searching for the Cali cartel. Tanks and armored vehicles patrolled the streets. Wanting some peace, I went for a walk one afternoon in a quieter neighborhood and came upon a large hacienda about 5 floors high, and the gate was open. I peered into the courtyard and then was drawn through and walked through the doorway, the tunnel, and into an incredible atrium. The atrium was full of wild poinsettias, hanging impatiens growing up the sides of the walls and off the balconies. As I looked up in amazement, a sister seemed to come out of nowhere. I had entered a Catholic monastery. Sister Marie asked me if I wanted to tour around. She showed me the chapel, the classrooms where she taught Sunday school, then directed me to a garden area. And even the lighting in this room right now and the time of day reminds me of that experience. The garden was full of orchids, roses, chrysanthemums. And she invited me to tea and cookies, and we sat and chatted. In the garden, I could still hear traffic from outside the building and across the city and the odd siren in the distance. And we continued to sit with our tea and we just chatted. Sister Marie was from Trois-Rivières, Quebec. And she'd been living, and we talked for a good time about our lives, our families, our travels. Sister Marie had been living for years in Peru and now Colombia, helping and teaching those who needed her help. I recall us laughing a lot as we conversed and joked in French and Spanish and English. As the conversation wound down the way it does, the sun began to sink slightly, and the air in the garden chilled just a little bit. Sister Marie bowed her head and said, "Your mother, she misses you." "Sorry?" "Your mother, she misses you." No, it's okay, she's used to it." "Your mother, she misses you. We're going to pray for your mother." She took my hand in hers and invited me to pray. I do remember that it started with "Scott is here, Niño de Dios, child of God." And then she went into a prayer in which she used God, Dios, Lord, El Señor, gracias, to Jesus. I can't really picture Sister Marie, but I never forgot how it felt. It changed me. Something happened and it changed me. So I encourage everyone to reach out and invite someone to pray. Thank you.
So I'd like to pick up on Scott's invitation, and we're going to invite you into a moment of personal prayer. And in a world that talks way too much, we're going to give you some silence and some music. And you may have picked up a square of paper when you came in. If not, we'll get some passed around to you. And simply going to ask you to write something that may be on your heart, something that you have carried into this space with you, that you would like to bring forward in a time of either prayer or intention or loving encounter. Just make a note of that. And if you're ready, when you're ready, and you don't have to, you can hang on to it if you want. There's a basket on this center table. Just going to ask that you come and you can fold that up and let your intention touch the other intentions in this room. So a moment of personal prayer. Thank you for allowing the intentions of your heart to become the intentions of our hearts. We're going to call on Melinda.
Hi, folks. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. I was invited to bring in a Buddhist practice of bringing deep the depths into our lives, and I am going to share a little bit. I used to live in a Buddhist monastery. I was an ordained nun with Thich Nhat Hanh, and our practice there had almost nothing to do with long periods of sitting in silence. We were quite an active community of service, running giant retreats for sometimes thousands of people. And even when we were out of retreat season, it was a bit of sitting, a bit of exercise, some silent mealtime, making tofu for 400 people, driving to the airport. And the most important part of our training was always how to bring the depth, how to bring, we would speak of mindfulness, but it wasn't just clear your mind to be a blank slate. It was bring your body and mind together to be fully present in whatever you're doing, with which makes space for the heart. It makes space to remember our intentions. It makes space to remember our relationship with the whole cosmos that we might call the divine or Buddha nature or integrity. And so I was thinking of what to bring here, because when I trained as a monastic, we had 68 verses. Not all of them were used every day, but to bring, as you like pick up your bowl in the meal line, that has its own verse, to bring awareness. I have a bowl that is going to be filled with food. Wow, thank you. Oh, I get to serve food. Oh, I get to eat food. I get to wash a dish. There was just a constant pausing to be very present as best we could in the smallest details of life, that I know is a practice that's actually shared amongst so many traditions. And so I know this might be a bit of a stretch for more people than I was imagining. I just haven't reshifted my plan. I wanted to bring in the practice of walking meditation, which some of you will not actually want to get up, but I'm going to see if we can make sort of I'll explain it first. But the simplest version that Thich Nhat Hanh, my teacher, would teach is to let your feet kiss the earth with each step. And that can mean 1,000 things. It's quite poetic. You can take your shoes off if you want, or you can have them on. It's particularly powerful to do outside, but I thought it would be too long to get us all outside. But I do invite, if you want to try it after. It's a lovely day. And in this way, we don't have to discuss what does prayer mean, what does depth mean. It can be different for every single person, and yet we can also join together with a moving prayer or meditation that just lets whatever amount of love, of need, like I've done a lot of walking meditation with my anger, with my sorrow. You just like invite everything along. You don't have to feel a certain way. You don't have to attain a certain special state of mind. And I don't want to say too much more. But know that if you want to join, I'm going in a moment to invite us to do our best to kind of make an oval. And then I'll guide us, those who want to join, into a bit of a walking meditation, and we'll push the cushions back. And those who wish to stay seated, is there another version of bringing your embodiment into your relationship with the deep? It might be through your breath. It might be through silently repeating mantra or prayers that are already part of your life. It might just be in bringing this question: what would it mean? What could it mean to kiss, to offer kindness and care to the surfaces that hold us, to our community. So does that make enough sense? Yeah. So those who wish, please come. We'll make a sort of an oval here with your left shoulder inwards. And we can even kind of make it kidney shaped. Yeah, come on in. Come in here. And we do this fairly slowly. It might feel a little awkward. Don't worry if you kind of stumble. There's lots of chairs to hold on to. And so I'll start us off. It's usually like an in-breath for one step, an out-breath for the other step. Make it whatever you wish. But just see what it's like for you to offer either all your love to the earth through your feet, to receive the love of the earth through your body, to receive the love of the divine through your body. And we'll just do this for about 3-4 minutes, or what I'm imagining is one round. So we begin. And taking one step, and the next. And don't let it be too slow, because we all want to move together as a group. So we'll adjust. If we need to, we could even make a second inner circle. Perhaps seeing how relaxed we can allow our bodies to be, if that opens the heart. And in my practice community, we always end walking meditation together. So whether you've gone back to your seat, whether you're sitting or standing, we can take a moment to just recognize that in whatever our form has been, we have practiced this together. And can we also let our bodies be part of this, offering a thanks with some sort of gesture of reverence. I usually do this as a bow. You could have a hand on your heart, a nod of your head, some way of letting our bodies continue to be part of our deep heart. Thank you.
So deep calls to deep. Deep continues to call to deep wherever we are, whether we're alone, whether we're with others. There is always an opportunity to answer that call, to respond to that call. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the people who participated, for the people who were part of our tapestry of voices, who offered prayer practices, meditation practices. We're hoping that a word or a moment of silence or a melody will remain with you throughout the coming week. We are here every Wednesday. And Varud, I'm just going to ask you whether you wanted to say anything about next week's gathering. And hands up if you are in the gospel choir. Okay, so you must come. This is going to be awesome. A reminder that if you wanted to speak to a member of the Spiritual Life team, they are going to be around. Thank you again to Tim and Yassine for participating today. And I think they're going to be around as well if you wanted to talk to them. And I'm going to invite you on your way out, if you would like, to take one of the prayer intentions with you, knowing that we carry each other in our hearts as we leave this place. So if you would like to take someone's intention with you and keep it with you over the next few days and offer your own practice to remember that particular intention. Thank you very much.